issue of employment as well of about 41%. That speaks also a good sentiment as well for the economy, looking at the high level that we have actually been seeing on the employment side of things. If you just maybe allow me to say this, Zambia's being having inflation and unemployment component has also been sparkling a bit of percentage there, together with the exchange rate as well as food. So it's a compounding of a lot of different cases in this case. But obviously, we know that once we have 30,000 out of 55 people pulling out of poverty or unemployment, that speaks a good aggregate demand to be created, and that therefore will create economic growth.
I want to find out from you. We listen to the finance minister. We listen to a lot of stakeholders give their opinions on what they think the budget would actually do at the end of the day once implemented. But the common one wants to know what difference will the 2022 national budget make on the lives of many Zambians?
Well, this one, as I mentioned earlier on, it's got a component, the biggest component, which is actually coming just on the grassroots, the CDF. I'm sure we understand that the constituencies have got a funding system. Obviously, we know that for a long time we've been having very limited funding capacity in terms of moving through some projects and a few other social amenities or social investment. Obviously, we know that previously we had 1.6 as a pegged 1.6 million as a pegged amount to champion development at a grassroots level or constituency-led growth projects. But now with the surging up of about 25.7 million Zambian kwacha, that speaks strongly, and it brings aspiration of people in terms of trying to move them out of the poverty belt. So I think it is something that is going to stimulate a lot of activities on the grassroots level, touching them in such a way that they are going to have some bit of economic benefit from there.
All right. Let's look at financing and everything that's going on with the budget. Dr. Msokotwane has proposed to use part of the 1.3 billion US dollars that the IMF gave to Zambia in the special drawings rights money to recruit teachers and health personnel in 2022. How sustainable will this be in your own view?
Well, looking at what is going to happen, obviously, when you make some employment, engagement in this case, we know that those are productive employees or productive personnel resource, which in any case, we were creating a growth aspect in the economy. We know that when there has been commitment of such nature, because obviously that is not just a consumption means, we are basically buying service so that we can produce more. Once we have a lot of educated or a lot of health people, if it's in the health or in the education, which actually has been targeted so much on this, we mean that we have some sort of liberating wheels in this case. So the commitment to do with the IMF, I think it's something that we should be able to champion so strongly, because obviously we know that when you look at the basis in the way we have been doing things in Zambia, of late you have seen that there has been a very poor international reserve on our side, and that's the reason why you've seen that there has been so much of a very serious imbalance in terms of trade between export and import. Reason why the IMF has flown that money is to just give a buffering kind of capacity on our international reserve, and that's how it's going to help us.
What's the long-term plan here? We want to understand, because we do know that this SDR is just like a once-off, withdrawal payment to Zambia. What happens in 2023? Can we afford to have this many people employed in 2022? Can we afford to have 30,000 teachers and 11,000, healthcare personnel employed and put on the wage, on the payroll for 2023? What's the plan after?
Okay, maybe just to give you a scenario for you to understand clearly on this. We know that Zambia's economy has been overheating, and we are not producing as much as we should. And if you look at the fundamentals have actually been very low. And if you are to also check our economic performance for a good period of time, we have been having a situation where we have been keeping our inflation high. We have been also, putting the kwacha on pressure by having so much of import issues. So basically what has been happening is that the economy has been having two things which are quite critical. The issue of having rapid growth in the population, and also accompanying it with poverty. And also we have an issue where we are not having growth on the economy. So you find that it becomes very difficult for us to survive. So if we tend to get the support of the IMF, or we get to have engagement of such nature, or even just having the SDR support on the actually it just comes on the balance of payment in this case. So meaning that the economy will not have a sparkling inflation, because what normally happens when we have a low reserves, it means now we are pushing the inflation up. And what has been happening in the case now is that we have been putting kwacha on a very, very difficult situation, because we have been importing so much and we haven't done so much of the export. So if most of the time the IMF's interest is to see how your balance of payment is, that is, they look at the export as well as the import side of things, and they just come to cushion the pressure in that, and then we start now talking in terms of trying to stimulate the economic growth. So once we have an economy which is functioning, I'm sure the narrative will change for next financial year.
Let's look at the agriculture sector. Dr. Msokotwane has zero-rated all agriculture equipment that farmers will be importing into the country. How significant is this proposal by Dr. Msokotwane to the agriculture sector?
Well, agriculture is a key moderator for us to actually incentivize the pressure that we have actually been having from mining sector. Mind you, we have a situation where Zambia's economic base has always been outweighing so much on the copper side of things, as well as the mining itself, the mining sector. So agriculture comes to be a quicker model for us to moderate and ensuring that we can make agriculture to work alongside with the mining industry. Because if we have just one form of sector in the economy, then we are choking ourselves. And of course, we know that copper is a global commodity, item. And if it so happens that there is a destabilization in the marketplaces, distortion also happens in our local market, where we have the aspect of inflation, the aspect of exchange rate, and few other variables that will also come and accompany there. So it's basically very important for us to see how best we can quickly moderate agriculture, and that is just one thing that we need to push so strongly at the point where we are, because obviously we have been projected to say that copper right this moment is doing very well, though it's got some few changes, not very much changes. And we have also sustained our thoughts on the buzzword to say there will be electrical cars and all that. So it's just not something that is sustainable for us to just hold on that rhetoric kind of. So we need to have something that can be substantially helpful in our economic wheels.
How does this help the agriculture sector?
Well, agriculture, I'm sure you've seen that Zambia, on that maybe the issue that has been put so much on a very doubtful kind of situation is the issue of maize, because maize most of the time as being a political crop. We have now even done an inclusive adaptation in terms of having other cash crop on board, which is actually a very welcome move, and I think it should be something that can continue. You see, the basis here is that we've got a robust market in the region. If you look at Congo, you look at even just Uganda here, they are able to buy Kenya, they're able to buy our maize. And of course, we've got a lot of production in terms of these crops, like even maize. If you look at the requirement that goes for 18 million people in Zambia in terms of consumption, just about 2.6 metric tons of maize. But obviously, we have been producing 3,700 metric tons. Of course, the surplus is just about 1 point something, 1.67 somewhere metric tons, which we export. But the problem that has been also been there is that we basically export it in the law firm. We're supposed to actually process and add value of some sort that we take to Congo, because Congo is a lucrative market that we can actually explore.
I want to find out, what do you think this will do to the subsistence farmers, the smaller farmers? The majority of the farmers that we have that are actually Zambian in this country are subsistence farmers, and they're not the commercial farmers. We're very few Zambians that are farming commercially. What does this do for them? How does this help them?
Well, you see, the bottom line here is that if you look at the FISIP backup, has actually gone 3 times because previously the farmers have actually been given about 1,700 per farmer, but obviously with the new budget they'll be giving them about 3,600 per farmer, which actually is a triple factor on that. And obviously the bottom line that need to be streamlined, as the minister hinted on Friday, it's just the modality of monitoring some of these, and we need to have now graduate from the FISIPU and all these other things that we need to do. And the other aspect that they need now to do is that they need to compile a system where the farmers should now go in the market in groups so that they are able to make value out of that.
Okay, I want to move on to another area of focus, everything to do with the debt that we have. We did hear the finance minister, Dr. Stombeko Msokotwane, actually say he indicated that government will not contract any external non-consensual loans except in instances of refinancing in 2022. What's your take on this decision?
Well, I think it's a very good way, because obviously we know that we have been put in a very difficult situation as we speak. You can imagine, just over the period of 10 years, we've done so much in terms of debt construction. And if you look at even the debt portfolio, it's slightly over our total GDP, which actually does not speak so much of what we need to do in the economy. And that's the reason why we are having now a lot of impact coming from debt servicing. And if you maybe give me an idea, or rather time to just explain to you, the current learning budget, the way it was actually being formatted is that you've got 41%, which we are servicing the debts. And you've got about 50%, which is actually just going to pay government workers, and you've got a 9%, which is servicing the social sector. So that in itself is not enough. That's the reason you find that you go to the hospital, you don't find medicine. You go to schools, you find I'm sure you are from a certain secondary school. If you go to a secondary school today, you find maybe there are no windows, no desk, and all sort of things like that. So it's really does not make sense for us to look at that, where we do not focus ourselves in a futuristic form of model. So what we need to do is that we still need to go for the IMF so that we are able to actually cushion certain pressure, because the concession loans most of the time have been actually taken a lot of aggression, where there are balance of factors. In this case, it's basically just have to obey. Like in the case what we have been doing, that some of the debts contraction that we have done, they are even now going into accumulation. We've got interest charges of about 600 million, million US dollars, which is now standing for us just defaulting on all these coupon payments. So that also speaks strongly to say that we need to go to non-concession so that we're able to see how best we can do that.
Minister also, proposed refinancing of these loans. What's your take on that strategy, where he wants to refinance and get new loans that would take us, or maybe negotiate that we repay them at a longer period? The years he suggested were 30.
Well, I think that's for me, it's a two-way thing. Obviously, yes, it's a good way to go about that, because obviously what you have seen that if we get to have a sort of agreement with the IMF in terms of such type of loans, we see ourselves not putting things in a very difficult situation, because obviously we have seen that what we did by going with the toxicated euro bonds, as well as these other, even including the Chinese loans, we've found ourselves in a very precarious situation, because obviously we should be able to pay about $750 US dollars next year within this budget. So it is all those issues that are pressing so much. And if anything, the political journey for UPND in their political mandate, it's quite bumpy.
Let's look at CDF. I know you referred to it earlier on when we just started the show. In the budget, Finance Minister has significantly, increased the Constituency Development Fund from 1.6 million to 25.7 million kwacha per constituency. Stakeholders have expressed mixed feelings, on this matter. Do we have people at constituency level to actually handle huge sums of money, or to handle this money and just, make sure that it's getting to the intended projects, intended purposes? I say this because we have a lot of CDF projects in the community that leave nothing to be desired when you look at them. And most of them are dilapidated. Some of them are half done. They're not completed. You look at this amount, it's a huge amount that comes with a lot of responsibility. Do we have people to handle this kind of money at constituency level?
Well, maybe just to give you a scenario, the minister, when he was announcing the budget and when he reached that particular section, he mentioned to say they are trying to work out a modality in which they can actually see how best they can bring in a lot of operationalization sort of schemes, as well as also the evaluation and monitoring aspects. But if maybe you may also wish to know that most of the CDF are channeled through the local councils. So I'm sure there will be a model that they can actually bring forth to ensure that they are those people that are actually responsible with such resources are fully incapacitated to ensure that they are able to modulate and have a prudence use of such resources for the public.
How does everybody stand to benefit here? Because I know that the minister has highlighted that there'll be bursaries and everything else, any sort of help that the community needs, or projects that the community needs, not help, but projects that the community wants to have to be undertaken through this fund. Are we capable of, having this fund being shared? Is it, should I say, equitably, or or just being shared magnanimously? Because there was so much controversy surrounding the 1.6 million.
Okay, I'm sure for the UPND government to even come up with this, there must be a model which they need to deploy. Obviously, we know that there should be some model way in the way that we need to have ward committee, standing committees, which should be able to ensure that they are part and parcel to actually help identify certain needs in the community, and of course with the help of the member of parliament. And I'm sure it's something that they can work around and see which model can fit into this requirement. But maybe I can give you a typical example in the scenario here. If you have a Mandev, which is our neighbor here, they have got about 4 wards in Mandevu. So if you look at Mandevu, I'm sure they can divide the 25.7 million equally, and they have now to identify which places now need to be given certainly attention in that case. But obviously, all these cannot just be happening whilst the resources are light in their hands. Some of these should be done through proposals, supporting women, supporting a lot of activities within the community.
Do you see that happening? Because we can't ignore the fact that we've heard of how allegations of corruption when it came to dispersing the 1.6 million. But how do you do this right at the end of the day?
From what I see, I think there will be a policy instrument which will be attached to this, which will speak strongly and ensuring that they put a lock on the cap.
All right, you're listening to the Hot Seat Radio program. In case you're just joining us, we're live on Hot 87.7 here in Lusaka, live on Kwitu FM on 93.3 FM. On the show this morning, we have socio-economist Kelvin Chisanga joining us on the Hot Seat Radio program. You can actually ask your advanced questions for you following this program live on social media on Hot FM Zambia. You can leave us your questions or contributions to, we'll put them forward to Mr. Chisanga here, who is our guest this morning on the Hot Seat Radio program. We are live on DSTV countrywide on channel 912. Well, getting back to our discussion, government has proposed that it will maintain a flexible exchange rate regime. To this effect, government will promote measures that support the stability of the exchange rate. Will this help the local currency to appreciate and stabilize further?
Well, of course, we know that Zambia left the controlled, or rather the regime that was actually able to control, control the model of exchange a long time ago. And we know that we are party to some regional organization like, COMESA, SADC, and few other. And much more now, we are even now about to link to ourselves to African Continental Free Trade Area. So if we tend to actually take a lot of controlling our monetary capacity or stance, I think it will be deterring our progress, because obviously the markets now are globally, linked. And if anything, the only way we can also just control whatever pressure could have been coming from Kwacha, it's basically just to beef up our industrial base locally and ensuring that we have substantial products that are coming out of Zambia to flow into the region, those of non-export products in nature.
You said it's going to be negative for us to stabilize our currency?
No. If we are to control our exchange rate, if we start controlling our exchange rate, it will be a negative for us, because we are in a free...
Explain to us how this is going to be negative, because we've had a very, very rough few years where the exchange rate is very inconsistent, and obviously it reached alarming levels. It went as high as 23 point something kwacha to $1. So if you're saying maintaining it at a certain level where it is more ideal for the common man, how is that a negative to us?
Well, let me give you a scenario here. If you see how the market sometimes work, it's based on the issues of supply and demand. And if we are to look at even just the performance of the kwacha, when the kwacha is actually depreciating so much, it means we're not doing a lot of work to do export.
We're not exporting a lot.
Yes, we are not exporting a lot. That is just a direct translation. So if we are to export, or rather to just bring industrialization come to, because obviously we have been talking of industrialization for some time. Now we need to remove from that talk show and make it a reality. So if once we go to that route, then we're able to stabilize our kwacha and the performance of the currency or monetary policies.
Don't you think that's more like an alternative, let's just say, to a contingency plan in the short term to help the kwacha be stable and have a more favorable business environment? And that what you've put on the table be let it be a long-term plan. Wouldn't that suffice?
You see, the issue is that once we start having minds of fixing forex, on the local market, it means now you're going to disadvantage some of the investors who are actually throwing some goods in this nation, because obviously the extent that it works internationally. So if we have a constant exchange rate which is just benchmarked in Zambia to be at a certain level, and meanwhile the factors or matrices are changing in the international market or regional market, then that becomes very difficult for us. Because what will happen that some people have been having interest to be flowing things, like we have trading partner South Africa, China, and a few others. They cannot match with that, because obviously they will be running at loss.
All right. This is your hot station number one for news and entertainment. You're listening to the Hot Hit Radio program. We continue looking at the budget that was presented in Parliament by Finance Minister Dr. Stombeko Msokotwane on the 29th of October. And in studio, we have Mr. Kelvin Chisanga, who is a socio-economist, helping us break this down as we look at different sectors of the budget. Now, the minister has also proposed to spend a total of 86.4 billion kwacha for general public services, translating to 49.9% of the total budget. Now, of this amount, 51.3 billion is for external debt servicing, while 27.4 billion will go towards domestic debt service. Is this allocation enough?
Well, I think it is, looking at the way things are. And if you look at even the budget composition, I think the 49.9 budget share on that note, or even just in this budget, it's one of the biggest allocation, though they are under general public service. But I would have loved if there was also a component of sinking fund, which is actually something that even the previous or the current planning budget has not included. And it is something that is us of great concern. Obviously, when we look at the current situation that we have, we've got even pending bills that are under a certain category, where there must be a debt, the payment of arrears as well, which is part of that component, and also even just the local government equalization fund as well. So quite a number of stuff that need to be looked at. But the bottom line, that it's a quite good, passionate commitment that has been done so far. But the bottom line, that they should have also put a sinking fund to help, because sinking fund comes into, of course, people would argue to say we have international reserves. For us, cannot make sense to have international reserves and sinking fund. But they must be aware where we can have sinking funds, so that we can plan for future. Then if it means the international reserve, it's just coming to cushion the pressure of kwacha when there is a spark, then it can happen like that.
All right. In its resolve to, continually empower local authorities, Dr. Msokotwane has proposed to allocate 1.3 billion to the local government equalization fund. He also, proposed an allocation of 3.1 billion kwacha towards dismantling of arrears to various, suppliers of goods and services. Are these amounts significant? Seeing that, in local government, we've seen what the workers have gone through there the past few years with the arrears and everything that's going on with our local authorities.
I think it's enough, because obviously we have seen that local government now has been empowered to take care of the public spaces like markets and bus stops, so they're able to make money. Just imagine, what you get from intercity and even just that comes just to supplement.
Is that reality though? Or are we making assumptions from what we saw? Because we've been getting different reports of what's really transpiring on the ground.
Well, maybe the issue that we are still in an infantile sort of levels. We haven't explored so much, and we need to now find, or rather, even just share ideas on how we can, broaden the envelope in terms of revenue from such spaces. Yeah, so we need to just see which models can work. Obviously, we can also look at the previous models that we were using right before there was disruption with the political agents.
And the 3.1 billion towards dismantling of arrears and various suppliers of goods and services?
Well, we've seen that there has been a slow movement in the economy, and obviously, I don't think we have done so much in terms of accumulating arrears from the private sector point of view. This should be enough, and also maybe the other aspect that we also need to see which are those contracts which actually have been truly been done, reflecting of the expectation. So if we're able to see that, then we're able to commit. So there must be also a serious audit in that as well.
I want to find out from you. Let's look at corporate income tax. Dr. Msokotwane has reduced the corporate income tax from 35% to 30%. What impact will it have on the manufacturing sector and encouraging investments in the country?
Well, obviously, we know that the economy has been, moving at a very slow speed. I think it is high time that we need to look at Zambia to actually industrialize much of what we do, so that even when it comes to the free African continental, the free continental African trade, we should be able to actually line in tandem with the perspective of our colleagues in the neighboring countries. You see, the issue that we need now is that for some time Zambia has never gotten substantial, meaningful investors coming into the nation. That's the reason why we have even got poor fundamentals in terms of macroeconomic perspectives. So what we need is to find a way we can bring investors to start, doing some meaningful investment or business here.
And you think the 5% knockoff from the corporate income tax is good enough? Is that a good enough deterrent or good enough, incentive for investors to come into the country?
I'm sure, yes, it could be, but there are other compendium of factors that we can also look at. There is also a part which the minister mentioned to say is going to do some review or amendment much of the tax policies, like the income tax and few other taxes under ZLA. So that also is going to, I'm sure along the way, it will actually trigger in to come and incentivize some of those needful aspects.
All right, this is your hot station, number one for news and entertainment. Well, you're listening to the Hot Seat Radio program. We'd like you to be part of the show. Give us a call on 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. Those lines will get you through to the Hot Seat Radio program, and you can put through your questions and your contributions. We would like to hear from you. As a social development economist, how can the Small Medium Enterprises Ministry act as a job and income creation entity?
Well, I think looking at the political will that has been slapped on the ministry, which was just recently created, I think there's a need to actually see how best can we bring certain licenses to just maybe channel through a single way of or one fowl of trying to power that up, because what we have seen that in Zambia we've got multiplicities of requirements when it comes to licenses. You go to Pakla. In fact, if anything, you are. If you took time to go to Pakla sometime, you find that you were paying maybe 200 kwacha for you to have the company incorporated, but today it's almost going to 1.2. You go to ZLA, of course, you find that maybe the taxes also are not friendly. Sort of things in that sense. So what needs to be done is that the ministry that is concerned with the small-scale enterprises should be now start to talk to say, look, let's give tax holiday, even just for 6 months, so that we can spark the economic growth from the activities of the SMEs. And if anything, what needs to be done also is that it should also go in line with having skills development, schemes which should be able to actually support what we call circular economy, in that we have now the production as well as consumption within the certain areas, and even just also linking it to a point where we need to develop a strong curriculum in the schools to ensure that children, when they are coming out of school, they are marshaled with the ideas of entrepreneurship as well as SME. Because what we have done harm to ourselves. We basically learn certain things that we cannot even apply when we reach in a certain level. Like when you go to the industry. So we also need to look at a model where we can have education based on demand, job demand driven sort of. I think those are the things that we need to put in as important pieces.
All right, your hot station number one for news and entertainment. We'll start with you asking your questions on social media. We'll chat with Chalwe Tokondwa, who asks the question: why didn't the government start with the capacity building at the constituency level? Most schools in rural areas that are not well done are under CDF.
You see, as I was saying, the CDF fund, it's like a shifting spanner. It's not something that is subjected to do just one thing which is just there fixed. We cannot even it's a dynamic sort of model which is there. So if you see that the CDF can be used for a particular project which is meaningful and productive, then you can channel it from there.
All right. It's 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. Give us a call this morning. We would like to hear from you. Good morning.
Yeah, ukapanji sevenza bwanje.
Sevenza bwino mwa sevenza bwanje.
No, mulungu achisunga ukapanji bali mu studio.
Awe tulife omutende ifo tuli bavemba.
No, twatotera ifwe tuli balozi ninevo judgment day kamayo yositumbeko.
Awe chimwalanda mkwae.
Mkwae. Detotera nefyo mleranda. Chifukwa imwe ba Socialist Party ndimwe ba opposition bamene niona bamene basalako ono bakamba kuti apa second opposition ni
kama yoyo
ni budget yamene ni kamba ibe
aba kama yoyo
yeo
siba ku Socialist Party wantikamba nawa.
I am non-partisan.
Nenze nambera monga Socialist Party economist.
Ni wa social economist.
Okay. No. Mukamba bwino maningi muyenekera kupitiriza. Kakambidwe kanu pamene nambera kajaka social na ganzani Socialist Party. Dembe na mi pata 90% ya leadership. Manje chifuata kuti munjimwe manani political muri 100% right ndaba vamene mukamba government yatu yenekera izidobamo mapointi amene mukamba.
Thank you very much. Zikoma
ina chamene nifuna kufunza chabe nifuna nifunze kunkani ya babali 7000 vamene bazange na nchito mu 2022 na bamene bakamba kuti free education sivinga chitike mu Zambia mukamba po bwanji bizachitika olo sivinga chitike kulingana na mamene na mimverera niona kuti muri kusaiti kwa Mazambians itirizani kutitandizira zikomo
kama yoyo sikomo baza yanka funso yanu yo. It's 09747077, 0950-955-877. Give us a call, 09747077. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. How are you, Peter Zulu?
I'm fine. How are you doing? What's your name?
You are talking to Morgan.
Morgan, please go ahead with your question or contribution.
I think for us as a citizen, we saw that budget in the history of Zambia. It's now come a huge budget. You know, in 2020, the PF budget was 1,019,019. So now today we have 1,073,000, which is now, including now employing next year, trying to employ 8,000 teachers, 11,000 nurses. This is by why we saw that even resident doctors were protesting. They wanted their doctors to be employed. So EDF have been increased to 25 million. So we have, remember, you have got 156 elected members of parliament. If the all 156 elected members of parliament, all the party where we go, there's an MP, and this MP receives that money, which means Zambia will be developed. So this is what we want. But now, what we are talking here, we don't want that to see on the paper, but it will start working in January. But let's be working and give it time. In time, all the money. Don't give them half.
Thank you very much. It's 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. Good morning.
Hello, good evening. Good morning.
Good morning, Lawrence.
How are you, my brother, this morning?
I'm fine, Lawrence. How are you doing?
I'm good. Good morning, the guest there.
Morning, thank you.
Yes, we are talking about these kind of budgets. You know, we have supported the experts in this country. Under PF is going, there's no PF is going for projects. You know, this government is going for consumption and the experts are supporting. For example, this government wants to borrow for $4.6 billion in a single year. That's for consumption. That's to please the voters. And the experts like my brother in the studio is supporting. For example, the government wants to employ 41,000 teachers from the 1.3 gift from IMF, which the UPNP government says have inherited empty coffers. Is that not a contradiction? A contradiction there, sir? Okay, you employ 8,000 teachers from this 1.3 billion IMF social dwelling rights. And then you can see that $1.3 billion, where are you going to get the money to pay these teachers? Because the government seems like it's depending on this single money. Now it's done. Where are you going to get the money? Already they've got a huge weight bill. We've got a uncertainable debt. What I expected from this budget or to be a direct weight bill, they have the debt. But the UPNG are doing the contract to the opposite. They blame PF for borrowing. They say PF can't borrow anymore. We have reached the level, the highest level. We can't borrow. But the minister in this budget has decided to borrow $4.6 billion. So are you going to subject the next generation to 30 years again of paying the debt? For me, this budget is about consumption. This budget, there's nothing impressive about this budget because budgeting in Congo, you can't go buy a chicken for children and you say the first no, that they are going to buy a chicken. You want to invest for investment, not in consumption. So this budget, for me, it leaves what to be desired. And the figures also, there's a contradiction in the figures. Manaka, you have to pay figures, but minister, they put wrong figures. And people say, no, this is the best budget ever had in the history of this country. Come on, Zambia. You can't be borrowing. We have reached the table levels. Let's find a solution to the debt. Let's consolidate the debt. Let's amortize the debt. Rather than borrowing for more. You're causing more economic vulnerability. Yes, we celebrate today. But the few years from now, Zambia will have no money. Won't get paid.
Lawrence, I'll ask you to wind up. Thank you very much.
Or maybe can I respond to More?
Yeah, okay. I'll give you an opportunity to respond.
He's spoken of long figures. I think I would urge him to look at the yellow book. There is what they call yellow book, which actually has exactly figure that you may think of, checking through. But even when you look at the budget composition that was just there, that's just a summary. And if you go through there, it is even able to tell you how the allocation has been done. Then coming to the issue where is actually mentioned to say that the UPND is borrowing for consumption. In as much as I'm not UPND, but I'll tell you what is happening in this case. Zambia has been fighting to have an IMF package from 2017, the time when we had the Honorable Felix Mutati, and we have never had the opportunity to have this. And the reason why maybe we can also put it in this way, for us to actually stimulate economic growth, we need some models to speak into what we are facing today. Obviously, we had a situation where our growth in the economy has been very slow. And if we were to go with what these people are saying, to say we go the natural way, where we do not borrow anything, it may take a maximum of 20 years for us to actually liberate the wheels of the economy. And if you look at Zambia's case, we've got about 5 years political tenure for each and every political party that comes in power. So in that case now it detrails even the full meaning of maybe the alternative solution for UPN to come in power. We should have maintained PF so that we can take 20 years to actually get to this level of growth. So now IMF comes in to have a quicker model for us to liberate. And if we are going for concession, we're not going for non-concession loans. What I mean by saying this, there is what I would tend to say commercial bank. Okay, if you go to a commercial bank, you get a loan. Obviously, you have to pay each and every day. Every time that you are required to pay. And if you don't pay, they come and get your items. So if we go for a loan which has got a good tenure of 30 years, it is something that can actually trigger economic growth. But if we go for a loan that has got only a maximum of 10 years or 5 years, then we're shooting ourselves in the foot. So what we did as Zambia, we went to the market which had the high interests. And in this case now we are suffering because obviously we cannot move. But the moment we get the IMF package, you know what happens? The IMF package comes with the bilateral stakeholders, and even the foreign investors will be able to come. And if anything, as it is right now, our letting capacity in terms of sovereign has actually been very low. And if anything, it's very difficult for maybe one giant investor to come and invest in Zambia because the atmosphere is not conducive. What Zambia was facing, at least now we are liberating in some way. We had a very stiff political risk, so that has been pushed away. So now we have a situation where we now need to trigger economic growth at this particular point. So if we do not act so quickly, it will be difficult for us to liberate.
Give us a call, 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Fine. How are you doing?
We are fine here in Kanyama.
What's your name, sir?
Good morning. How are you, sir? Thank you.
What Musanje?
Ifetia migira jabe kuti angati government ya tuza kuti 25.7 ibwera kuno kwa Kanyama mu constituency. Isitia migira. Isivene vake vatupasa udindo. Na vamene tifuna kuchita muno mwa Kanyama vene vake. Kuli icho ifetia migira chivuwa chakuti kazioneka munga ndisevopusa kukuvota mubwera kuona chuma cha ziko sichionako pamene musevenzisa mwenda kukongora mugula minkwala zoola mapaya tenda yoola ifestiziwa tomba pandama kapala mkomboni tizamboziwa vene vake kuti apa tifuna kliniki apa tifuna sikuru angati taononga ndipe tilipira maloni aya ndize tibweza nkongolezo nishitiziwa kuti tinaononga vene vake mungafunse kuti kuleta kupapara ndalama mforese manasi mforese mateachers nanga ndalama zamene tupasa ma ministers mahala time mahala motoka mahala piero mahala nyumba mahala tishu mahala ilapi vasakela mwefetisa ndiako iyo nishisuna kanize vino mtu akuletera kuti vana vako vapunzire mahala ndora kuti ndalama zazi zako nanga zamene ulipira maminista koma mazambia nasaliramo ziko malume Mungu akudaliseni juwa
zikomo bomu sanje
nyumba utandaula vuti
zikomo 0974-870-877, 0955-955-877. Those lines will get you through to the Hot Hit Radio program this morning. We'd like to hear from you. What's your take? Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine. How are you doing? What's your name?
I'm very fit, and you're speaking to Mubotu here.
Mubotu. Yes. Mubotu, please go ahead with your question.
Nikuongeze lako waposi bwani muli studio.
Bwino bwimwanji.
Dauka bwino ise.
Chawama.
Tamvera mushe mwe mukambira waposi.
Emkwae.
Nimvera munga mukambira ise bantu bose kama Zambia. Ndipo nikabwera ku topic ya mine tili nayo hapo. Ine budget wa bosi yonse chere all over yonse che mwamene ili wa bosi. ilichemushe kuline kusali because niona monga yanikafalinga kuyambira pamene banachita announce kuti wa president bawina kubwera ofika pandalama manje vonse ine vanikavalinga. Number 1 ninalibe mutendere nina mutendere. 2 mukayangana ndalama mweba zita allocate mamene zifunika osebenzera zonse zinikavalinga ine wa boss ine zikavalinga ine muntu osauka monga ine. So naona kuti ba president council okamba zona ntumba yawo niyo zula kudala tibafuna ndalama kuti bakazujire ntumba yawo iyayi. Ndalama bazambo pasa abantu bosauka monga ise kuti tuone kuti ziko yatu yaenda sogolo. Budget inakavalinga muntu aliyense mu Zambia muno because mukaona ba president kapena the administration etili now banachita create the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise. Mwamene niya muntu ali monga ine wamene osapunzira but alinavochita vamene angachite nilipe paper but ningaende kuja na apply since kuliveni chita vamene zinganipase kuti na ine nizinkhala na umoyo hapa ziko la pasi papa for my living. Waona hapo so dinchile sinasale pambuyo na ine nilipo pasi government system na ine vani support
zikomo tamvera contribution yanu tamvera tasakupasana enough time zikomo
zipe mako wa boss
zikomo takupasana enough time is 0974870877 0950955877. Would like to hear from you this morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, thank you.
Morning, what's your name?
I'm Fanwo Mwangala, senior citizen.
Fanwell, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Guest, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you.
This money, there is this kind of talking that we are talking. This is taxpayers' money, which is being moved to constituencies. So if it's distributed in the manner that we are a bit suspicious, we can actually continue talking in the manner that we are talking. We are trying to analyze, and UPNG must be grateful because we are analyzing this budget for them. So that they do not really listen carefully. Other than mocking it, they are, the callers, those that are analyzing the budget, they should not be mocking it there or expressing anger. No. We are helping them. So for me, I'll call the budget as a campaign budget. I think the main focus of this budget probably was they were looking at 2026 general elections. Apart from what we've been told about this and that and so on, the main focus, I think, was on 2026 general elections. I'm saying this because I know that the elections have become extremely competitive, and they saw what happened, and they know how elections are going to be in 2026. So their main focus was also on the elections. On the distribution of this money, what we are saying is local people in constituencies have not been capacitated to understand how they are going to spend this money, what they are going to do with this money, and how they are going to care for this money. There is no infrastructure. I come from a rural constituency myself. There is no infrastructure that can talk about or personnel that's going to look after this huge sum of money. So the the central government should have played a part before handing over to constituencies. There should be something that they should have done in this money. Either putting up some infrastructure or either training some personnel to say after this, then they'll be able to say, now we can go it alone. We've also shown you what to do. Not only taking this money anyhow. It's the money they will regret how they will spend it. And this money will not come back again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I would like you to, react to that.
Okay. I think just to look at what you mentioned of budget to be a campaign budget. I think in my own way, it's not true because if we are to change, we have made this change. What's the point of changing? A point of changing even the political scenario or political system is to actually better our lives. That's the reason why there is this component of democracy. When we change governance system, we expect other people to come and do things ideologically different, and they'll bring about development. And that's how we foster development. I'm sure if you look at the historical architecture of Zambia in terms of political life, we've seen that we are in a one-state party. We went into multi-party system. Now we are in this system. So there has been some changes that we have actually been witnessing in the nation. So the change is inevitable when it comes to leadership, especially at state level. So having a budget like this, I, for one, I wouldn't allow to term it to be a campaign package, because obviously if we put that word to say it's a campaign strategy or campaign tool, then what are they doing in the office?
All right, so I've got another question for you from Mainza C. Hamugale from our social media. He says, a good budget must have revenues that balance with expenditure. Do you think this budget is balanced?
Well, it might not be balanced as per se, because obviously we've got a budget deficit of about 7%, which actually is not detraying away from the target. Because obviously when you look at the macroeconomic fundamentals that have been set under the UPND government, they are looking at trying to make growth of the economy, a growth rate of about 3.5%. They're also looking at trying to reduce the burden in terms of deficit on the budget itself. Obviously, we know that this current budget has got about 8.3, deficit. So I'm sure if we are coming from 8.3 projected by the end of this year, then we go to 7. It means we are reducing. So in essence, what I would say is that despite whatever could have happened, a budget cannot be made out of what you have sometimes. This budget is just basically projecting how we should be able to spend. It can even be more. Who knows, maybe we can even have a 15% funded by the donors, depending on the framework that has been put there. If you look at the way the minister was talking, he was talking about 4 pillars. One pillar is a pillar of economic transformation and job creation. Then the other pillar was economic and social development. Then he mentioned of environmental sustainability as well as good governance environment. So if we go so much on the good governance aspects, we do prudent sort of management with the budget itself, we may even have some funding from people. Remember, you see, if you look at the scenario in our governance system, I'm sure you must be privy to this, where the Minister of Health at Ndeke at some point was having a lot of funds because there was a conducive atmosphere. So if we tend to do things correctly, we may even able to see that we have even proper funding coming through, and we can even go beyond. We can now. It even takes me to a point where I've seen that Zambia's budget, most of the budget that have actually been drawn, they do not have surplus. Most of them, they have been landing in deficit. So we need to change the narrative as well. We need to see how best we can deploy some bit of fiscal discipline when it comes to dispensement and even management of budget. And also even just to see how best can we, governize some good ideas that should be able to model, good schemes around the budget. And one thing also that has also come out from, as I'm talking to you right now, it's the aspect of, apportioning some of the things that have not even finished in the budget life. We need to go to a point where we do not just need to make budget midway of the other budget. So what has been happening in the past is that by May, we start looking at the budget for next year. And you find that some things that we keep repeating the budget are the ones that actually even become so harmful to the budget itself. So we need to find a way on how best can we put things in perspective, in a light perspective, so that we do not have a situation where we keep repeating the same mistakes.
Okay. 0974-70877, 0950-955-877. Good morning.
TZ, good morning.
Morning to you.
Thank you so much. Our guest, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
My name is Brother Alex in Osaka. Yes, analyzing very well. I want to go back to the constituency fund. 25.7. That's good money, indeed. But looking at the issues of equity here, you surely look at a constituency like Kabwata constituency where I am in now, and go to my rural constituency in Lukulu, Western Province. You think this equity is fair? When will Lukulu, my constituency, be at the same level like Kabwata? Surely you are telling me that this is the fair way of distributing the resources. Why are the resources not distributed according to the needs of our constituencies? Thank you so much. Good morning.
Thank you very much. I'll allow you to react to Brother Alex.
Yeah, sure. Alex, I think I would also pose to you one counter balance item here. I don't think you'd love Lukulu to remain the way it is. It is something that is very imperative that you can also develop Lukulu. Obviously, we know that Lukulu has a lot of needs as well, which you may not be able to be well chromatized with them because you stay most of the time in Lusaka. So Lukulu may need better health facilities, better schools, and a lot of other things that could actually, take Lukulu to a level where we need to see that if I were to pull out of Lusaka and I want to settle in Lukulu, I will be very happy as well. So we need to equalize also our thinking to say our villages also need to upscale in the way they look or the outlook.
Okay. It's 0974870877. Good morning.
Good morning, Mishani Makaramba.
Morning to you. To the fair winner, Murishan.
The fair winner.
More banana shina.
Never can go for an end Movember.
Wakangwa lande ni tumfwe.
Therefore, quick shako. What is your first move to job?
Out to you, Mutende, let's change Kumuru.
So, I than that sungo, what than that we know, sana. Omba, therefore, quick shako, and therefore, quick shako. Shouldn't I remember for Pongore? So, Mulenge Bokuti before Tabala for 5 years, what a situation, Edip Shodan in question.
Okay, Chisuma. Please explain to him.
Okay,
what's happening.
Nataka explain pano mchibe mbaini. Ero twakwete ubutungurushu bwafumineko. Ubutungurushu bwafumineko baire ku Kongola, loba Kongole mpia, ba Kongole mpisha kwa chile tukoma pa mukoshi. In terms of normally payment, nangu kumkulipila paying back. Chile tukoma pa mukoshi in such a way that the watch negotiate better terms and condition. So in that case, it's more like what to kubanki au turefiro kulipila. Nomba turefiro kulipila. Shimoshini na nashikota na makolo atro na ishi kwete na ma sort of commitment. So we have been having a situation where not kwata na inkongole not kwata na ma interest na bikurapo. So inkongole shesu shadire ngokuba chero chambo kuwa tachire twala pantanshi in terms of if ya kuchichika if ya kwate mpia tukwate ma business ubukwebo fidia shupikwa. So oko trefo kuya na ngoko government ile plan okuya na ngoko tindaya as Zambia ni kuntukwa kwa watu pela koka breathing space saka kwati banda tawe imwe kanshi sendeni ko so much mute mureka amakwebo yenu yabe kwachi yakwata ko impia mukatika kacharo chenu so ati mule lipia kopano no kunkongole yoshinesho then mukalipila after 30 years. So nshingeshiba ngachimwa kumuntu kwete 10 years kulipila nkongole na nkumwa kumuntu kwete 30 years. So a situation ipo na ba IMF has got a situation where they are giving us a breathing space for us to actually service other loans whilst we are also trying to grow the economy. At the end of it all now, we would grow the economy.
All right, it's 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. We'd like to hear from you. Good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. This is Auntie Dorothy.
Auntie Dorothy, good morning to you. Please go ahead with your question or contribution.
Yes, please. But don't take my name. My phone always doesn't get through, but today it has gotten through.
You are lucky and blessed.
Amen. I just want to say that our budget is very powerful. Right now, moderator, I operate from Kamwala. Me, I'm a former banker. I found myself at the Kamwala, and these shops were leased by the council, corruption of the council, 65 years. So upon that 25 million, we are going to lobby so that the government can get money to pay off these Chinese, so that we can be paying our rentals to the council. Those are kudos to the New Deal government, because the New Deal is thinking of the poor. But if you think of the uncivilized investors in the country, you forget, you abandon your own people, you expect the government, the economy to grow. It won't grow. So this economy is for the poor. And I just want to correct someone who was asking that there's no format. The format has come out. There will be 12 people representing the CDF. But that doesn't mean that the whole constituency, they won't be talking. They'll be talking through those 3 people. There will be 3 councillors, 2 representatives from an MP who will choose 1 representative, about 3 representatives from the constituency. So among us, neighbor meets others, there are 12. So they are all covered. New Dawn is thinking for the people. New Dawn wants development for the people. Let's give them kudos and we salute them and pray for them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. 0974-870-877, 0950-955-877. We'd like to hear from you. What's your take? We have Mr. Chisanga in studio here, who is a socio-economist, obviously helping us break down the budget. Good morning.
Good morning, Tiggy. How are you?
Good. How are you doing? What's your name?
I'm Arthur calling from within Osaka.
All right, please go ahead.
Yes. I want him to answer the question which the other gentleman asked regarding the equity in terms of distribution of the CDF. Yeah, because I think he has not tackled it well. I'm looking at the same way. I look Kawata, for example, where I am.
Okay.
Things are done are much better in terms of economic activity as compared to maybe Lukulu. So why should Lukulu, which is not that much developed as Kawata, be given the same amount as Kawata constituency? I want him to answer that one properly.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please, let's go back to that.
Okay. As I was saying, I was saying that obviously we need to also see even our villages to actually develop. Even the village, there are quite a number of desirable benchmarks that we need to score. It could be a school problem because obviously when you go to certain areas, you find that maybe the teacher doesn't even stay within the teaching compound. We need those CDF money can actually help even to just bring even just something there in that regard. Those small softy projects can be done, and even just when you look at the issue to do with the feeder loads, those that of course I know the government has got an obligation to do the feeder loads and everything across the entire nation under economic affairs. But if there's a need to say we need now, if it's a community-driven need in Lukulu to say we want a feeder load this side so that we are able to push in the economic of scales for farming and these other things, that money can work for such. Other than just waiting for the government, because maybe the budget cycle for government to put a load there or something, it may take long. Yeah. So similarly, if it's in Kabwata, and we know that right now Kabwata has got at least good, social amenities and those other things that we could actually see. There is a good water system. There is good sanitation system. I'm sure the need will be there to say, okay, we need the young ones to make cooperatives to push for themselves, business ventures and enterprising of some sort. Yeah, then the money can work in that, and probably it can also come out to be a revolving fund. So I think those are the issues that we need to look at. Of course, we need to develop all areas in Zambia.
All right. 0974-877-877, 0950-955-877. We're live on Quito 93.3, live on Hot on 87.7. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. What's your name?
Clement is speaking.
Please kindly speak up.
Clement is speaking.
Clement, please go ahead with your contribution.
My contribution is on the equalization of CDF funds. When you look at the needs, for example, Lukulu and Kawata constituents, the problems which are in Kawata constituents and the problem that are in Lukulu, for them to be sorted out, probably they wouldn't need the same amount of money. But you will realize that the population in Kawata constituents is larger than that of Lukulu. So if the CDF funds are equal, you are also catering for the people in those constituents. Because when you look at a constituent, for example, that has 10 people, and another constituent that has 100 people, and that constituent where there are 100 people is well developed, their need or problems will be larger than the constituent with 10 people. So it would be inappropriate, or rather not in order for us to start discussing the equality in terms of the CDF fund.
Okay.
Okay, can I just ask you?
All right.
Okay. Right this moment, we've got a situation which is actually a down risk effect on our economy. You know what's happening, Peter? We've got a situation where much of the population is now in Lusaka as well as Copperbelt, on the basis that we've got rapid migration from rural areas. What does this mean? That we have centralized some of our job market in Zambia, basically having these two provinces anchoring a lot of people and a lot of activities happening that. So I think for me, I'll still stand to say that the CDF is okay because it meant to actually develop areas so that we do not have people coming from the villages or people coming from the countryside to come and concentrate so much in Lusaka. That's the reason why we've got an issue now, even when it comes to water problem in Lusaka. We've got issues to do with sanitation issues, mushrooming, a lot of things that happen because we are not doing much in the countryside. So I think it is imperative that we need to balance up such kind of. I think we strongly need to just maybe leave it the way it is. If that is my own view, because we need to develop the countryside as well. So I don't need to force myself coming here. Maybe I can give you a typical example. I came from Mansa. That's why I used to be most of the time. But because Mansa does not have so much, I have found myself in Lusaka. Imagine if there was something in Mansa, do I find myself here? So I think it is very important that we need to look at the best way we can develop even the countryside.
So are you going back to Mansa after this?
I'll tell you.
Is dispersed.
I'll tell you. I've been planning to invest in Mansa now because of what's happening. I'm planning to invest. Who knows? Maybe I can even pull out of Lusaka at some point and go to Mansa.
You are reducing the manpower in Mansa. It's 0974870877, 0950955877. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning to you. What's your name?
My name is Isaac.
Isaac, please go ahead with your question or contribution.
What I just wanted to find out is the issue to do with Community Development Fund. Do they have projects already aligned or business plans already aligned so that when the money comes, they can be able to channel it to what is already planned? Or they are waiting for the money to come. That's when they are going to now make a decision how they are going to distribute those funds. What I wanted to find out is, do they have a program that is already aligned? When the money comes through, they'll just channel that money to that project so that it starts. Or they don't have any projects in mind. They are waiting for the money to come so that the projects can start now. That's what I wanted to find out. Thank you.
Okay, I hinted on this. I mentioned to say the CDF fund is sometimes act as a shifting spanner. That's the reason why some of the times we need to be proactive. if we have heard the pronunciation, I'm sure if I'm a youth or other youth, we'll be able to start now making plans to say the government has planned this, so let's work things in perspective. So I think it is not something that is lumped with a structural sort of alignment. It is something that can work as the needs requires. CDF, if there is a need to build school, I'm sure there can be a moratorium in where maybe if they follow certain government policies or anything that could happen, they can put a 1x2 block. I'm sure that can happen. Obviously, it has to be subjected to be confirmation.
Okay. Let's pick up our final call, then we wrap up the show. It's 0974-870-877. Good morning. I'm sure there's something wrong with your phone, but hey, we'll pick up another call. 0974-870-877. Give us a call this morning. We'd like to hear from you. Good morning.
Order. Francis Munduntika is calling you from Lusaka. Good morning, the panelists here, and good morning to you, guest.
Good morning.
Moderator there.
Good morning.
Yes. Well, according to my perspective on today's issue, first and foremost, the issue of the budget and the CDF, I want to talk about the CDF mainly. One of the first things that should be done with the increase of the money, measures should be put in place that those who are entrusted to handle that money, whether it is members of parliament or whoever, should not have wrong hands. Start planning now first to help themselves before helping the community. That's point number one. Point number two, this is why we talk of delimitation. Certain constituencies, even such amounts, it's not cut for most of the constituencies, but if we had delimitated, like when we had got the bill of whatever at the time, things would have been better to handle constituency. But I'll tell you one thing, the way forward for me, the increase has been put across now. At what price are we going to pay the people of Zambia? Where are these funds going to come from? Is it not something that will affect us in the long run, depending on our source of getting that money? Because this budget that has been put across, I hope members of parliament will debate it critically and ensure that even the IMF conditionalities that we've made with the IMF, they're being held too much in secrecy. And this is the government and the president that we have who criticize anything to do with the IMF or borrowing any money. But why is it that the previous money is, according to what he said whatever money we borrow from now onwards, it will be Kalowa money. No country or no institution will give the Zambia any money now. Then what is it that is going to do to make sure that we don't find ourselves in a worse debt crisis? Because as things stand right now, the good job that the PF have done, building schools, building hospitals, building roads and infrastructure, these are things now that they were criticizing that they are going to utilize. The foundation has already been laid down by the PF government. So what are they going to do? And we need to give them proper checks and government and the checks and the balances. And then I conclude, I want to tell this government, accept criticism, because one thing I've noticed with the UPND and most of its followers and the president, they do not accept criticism. When you are in opposition, you are the biggest critics, and if you go by where people talking things that are neither here nor there, you are the number one people who are involved in that. So when people are advising and criticizing, don't say, no, they're provoking, no, they're doing this and that. We mean war for this country. And remember where you're coming from. We'll give you the proper checks and balances, but respect the people of Zambia, because you don't own this country by being in government right now. It is us, the people who employ, we hire and fire. Others have been fired, you've been hired, you'll be fired if you don't follow what the people are telling you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your contribution.
Okay, just a reaction. Obviously, we know that when the CDF is given in the constitutions and the constituencies, there is a need for us to also to take ownership of it. That's what is actually very cardinal and key. Then also the essence of the CDF mainly is just to uplift some of the fundamentals at a constitution-led sort of arrangement, where we should be able to see that certain things start shaping up positively. Imagine you have got a child who's going to school and it doesn't make sense, and the country is in this state. So the other part also is it also comes out to say that the CDF now will trigger the local content policy that has been sitting idle, meaning that people can participate in the job market. They're able to make desks, because no importation of desks that's going to happen actually. And you can also make some other things that you can supply locally to the health as well as the schools. So I think it's very quite important that we need to look at that. Then, though I'm not in a political life, but I understand that when you are criticizing your fellow political opponent, there must be also some reasonable and meaningful criticism that should be able to put forth. I believe so strongly from the economic side of things that through discussion and policy, discourse, we can bring forth a number of developmental change in the economy.
All right. Mr. Chisanga, I'd like to thank you very much for coming through to the Hot Seat Radio program this morning.
Thank you.
So there you have it. That's been Tuesday's edition of the Hot Seat Radio program. We'd like to thank you very much for tuning in to 93.3 FM, Kwitu FM, for tuning in to Hot 87.7, and for, going to our social media page and liking the Hot FM Facebook page, as well as asking us those questions via our social media. Until this week, Thursday, I beg your pardon, it's goodbye for now.